FTD doesn't scream, it whispers. And, I didn't really know anything about young onset dementia prior to Bruce getting his diagnosis. It's very gray to know, where did Bruce stop and where did his disease kick in?
For many years, the name Bruce Willis was almost synonymous with the image of a Hollywood action hero in the eyes of audiences. Willis was always the tough man, a cop who never gave up, a hero who kept getting back up after being knocked down. But real life is not like the movies. In the final years of his career, fans began to notice that something was wrong. Willis started appearing in smaller films. His roles became shorter. Some scenes showed him struggling with his lines. Many people assumed he was simply choosing easy projects to make quick money. The truth was revealed later. His family confirmed that Willis had been diagnosed with aphasia, and later with frontotemporal dementia, a brain disease that gradually destroys a person's ability to speak, think, and understand. When the public finally understood what had really happened, the story of Bruce Willis was no longer just the story of an action star. It became the heartbreaking story of a hero slowly losing himself. Early tragedies, a difficult beginning, and the pressure of Hollywood. Bruce Willis did not arrive in Hollywood with advantages. He was born in 1955 in West Germany because his father served there as a U.S. soldier. The family later moved to New Jersey, where Willis grew up in a working-class household. His mother worked in a bank, his father held factory jobs. No one in the family had connections in the film industry. After finishing school, Willis worked ordinary jobs to support himself. He drove trucks, worked security, and later became a bartender in New York City. At the same time, he attended acting classes and went to auditions. The early years brought almost no recognition. In the early 1980s, he appeared briefly in projects like The Verdict and television shows such as Miami Vice. These roles were small and easy to overlook. He also tried music. In 1986, he released the album The Return of Bruno and recorded the single Respect Yourself. The song reached the Billboard charts but did not lead to a long music career. For more than a decade, Willis lived with uncertainty. Acting jobs were inconsistent. Financial pressure remained constant. Each year in Hollywood brought the same question: would success ever arrive? The answer finally came in 1988. That year, Willis was cast in the action film Die Hard. He played New York police officer John McClane, a man trapped inside a Los Angeles skyscraper during a terrorist attack. The film was produced with a budget of about $28 million and eventually earned more than $140 million worldwide. The success changed Willis's life almost overnight. John McClane became one of the most recognizable action heroes in cinema. Unlike the invincible heroes of the era, McClane looked tired, injured, and human. Audiences connected with the character, and Willis suddenly became a global star. But the speed of that success brought its own pressure. Willis later admitted that the transition felt overwhelming. After years of struggling, fame arrived almost instantly. Interviews from that period show him speaking openly about how strange and frightening the change felt. At the same time, his personal life was changing as well. Willis was married to actress Demi Moore, and in 1988, they welcomed their first daughter, Rumor Willis. While his career was exploding, he was also learning how to become a father. For Willis, these two realities collided. Hollywood demanded constant work. Film schedules required months away from home. Yet he often said that family mattered more than fame. He preferred quiet evenings with his children over industry parties and publicity events. During the 1990s, Willis and Moore welcomed two more daughters. Their family attracted constant attention from the media. But Willis tried to keep his children away from the pressures of celebrity life. Still, the balance between career and family proved difficult. Long filming schedules created distance. Success brought opportunities, but it also took time away from home. Willis later admitted that he often felt guilty about missing moments in his children's lives. In 2000, after 13 years of marriage, Willis and Moore announced their divorce. The separation remained respectful, and both continued raising their daughters together. By that time, Willis had already become one of the most recognizable actors in Hollywood. Yet, behind the public image of success, the tension between fame, responsibility, and family had quietly shaped the early chapters of his life. The peak of his career and the hidden struggles during the 1990s. Bruce Willis reached the peak of his career after the success of Die Hard. He quickly became one of the most bankable actors in Hollywood. Studios trusted him to carry major films, and audiences around the world recognized him as a leading action star. The success continued with Die Hard 2 in 1990. The film earned more than $240 million worldwide. 5 years later, Die Hard with a Vengeance performed even better, reaching about $366 million at the global box office. These films confirmed that Willis could anchor one of Hollywood's most profitable action franchises. At the same time, he began choosing more diverse roles. In 1994, he appeared in Pulp Fiction, directed by Quentin Tarantino. The film later became one of the most influential movies of the decade. Willis also starred in the science fiction adventure The Fifth Element in 1997 and the large-scale disaster film Armageddon in 1998. Armageddon alone earned more than $550 million worldwide. By the end of the decade, Willis ranked among the most commercially successful actors in Hollywood. In several industry lists, he was placed around the top 20 box office stars of the 1990s. Despite the success, Willis often downplayed his achievements. In interviews, he described himself simply as an actor still learning his craft. He once said that acting was something he continued to study every year. Yet even during this successful period, a quieter tension existed. Willis never aggressively chased the superstar image in the same way as actors like Sylvester Stallone or Tom Cruise. He preferred a lower public profile and avoided turning himself into a larger-than-life celebrity brand. Because of this, some critics argued that he never fully embraced the role of Hollywood's biggest action star, even though his films earned enormous revenue. While his professional life flourished, his personal life continued to evolve. Willis and Demi Moore raised 3 daughters together: Rumor Willis, Scout Willis, and Tallulah Willis. Their family became one of the most visible celebrity families of the 1990s. However, the pressures of fame and demanding film schedules created strain. In 2000, the couple announced their divorce after 13 years of marriage. Despite the separation, they remained close and continued co-parenting their daughters. Years later, Willis even attended Moore's 2005 wedding to Ashton Kutcher, an unusual gesture that showed their relationship remained respectful. In 2009, Willis married model Emma Hemming Willis. The couple later welcomed 2 daughters, Mabel Ray Willis and Evelyn Penn Willis. By this point, Willis was the father of 5 girls. Fatherhood remained central to his life. In interviews, he often spoke about protecting his children from the darker side of fame. He warned them about obsessive fans, unrealistic expectations, and the illusion of celebrity culture. At one point, he expressed his protective instinct bluntly, saying he would step in front of a car to protect them if necessary. As the 2000s began, Willis gradually adjusted his career. Instead of appearing only in large action blockbusters, he accepted a wider variety of roles. He made appearances in films like Ocean's 12, starred in the stylized comic adaptation Sin City, and returned to his most famous character in Live Free or Die Hard in 2007. By this time, he was approaching 50 years old. The pace of work began to change. He appeared less frequently in physically demanding roles and spent more time with his family. To Willis, this shift represented a natural stage of life. But to many observers in Hollywood, it looked different. Some critics and audiences began to speculate that his career might be slowing down. At the time, few people realized that these changes would eventually become part of a much larger and more troubling story. The final career tragedy and public misunderstanding during the 2010s. The career of Bruce Willis began to change in ways that confused both critics and fans. For decades, he had been associated with major Hollywood productions, but suddenly he started appearing in a long series of low-budget action films. Many of these movies were released directly to streaming platforms or home video rather than theaters, in several cases. Willis appeared on screen for only a few minutes. One example often cited was Hard Kill, released in 2020, where his total screen time was reportedly around 7 minutes. Some projects still connected him to bigger franchises, such as The Expendables, but many of the later films received extremely poor reviews. A number of them scored below 3 out of 10 on user rating platforms like IMDb. People working on these productions noticed unusual patterns. Willis sometimes wore an earpiece so assistants could feed him dialogue during scenes. In many action sequences, stunt performers replaced him. In other moments, his voice lines were recorded separately and inserted later. To many observers, this looked like a lack of effort. Critics accused him of appearing briefly in films simply to collect large paychecks. Online discussions often described him as a once great actor, now taking easy money. What few people understood at the time was that something deeper might be happening. Behind the scenes, some directors began expressing concern. Filmmakers such as Mike Burns and Jesse V. Johnson later described moments that worried them during production. Willis occasionally struggled to remember lines or seemed confused about what scene was being filmed. Crew members sometimes heard him ask simple questions such as where he was or what was happening in the scene. In at least one production, an incident occurred where he reportedly fired a prop weapon at the wrong moment during a rehearsal, which frightened members of the crew. These events led some colleagues to quietly question whether Willis fully understood what was happening around him. Yet no clear explanation existed at the time. Meanwhile, rumors began circulating in the industry that certain producers were exploiting the situation. One of the names frequently mentioned in reports was producer Randall Emmett, who had worked with Willis on several low-budget action films. Critics suggested that some filmmakers continued casting him even as his condition appeared to worsen. While these debates spread online, the damage to Willis's public image grew. Many fans believed he had simply stopped caring about the quality of his work. The misunderstanding deepened after a series of uncomfortable public appearances. One widely discussed moment came during a 2013 interview promoting Red 2. Willis appeared distracted and gave short, impatient answers. The interview quickly went viral and reinforced the perception that he was no longer interested in engaging with the public. Over time, these moments created a narrative that Willis was selling out his legacy. Fans who had admired him during the 1990s began to question what had happened to the actor they once respected. Looking back, those years now appear very different. What many people interpreted as indifference or laziness may actually have been the earliest visible signs of a neurological disease, according to later reports from his family. The symptoms that would eventually be diagnosed as aphasia and later frontotemporal dementia had likely begun appearing several years earlier. By around 2019, the changes were becoming increasingly difficult to ignore. But at the time, the public did not know the truth. Instead, one of Hollywood's most recognizable action stars spent his final working years under a cloud of criticism, while quietly struggling with a condition that few people around him fully understood. The greatest tragedy: illness and its impact on his family. In March 2022, the family of Bruce Willis released a public statement that finally explained the changes many people had noticed in recent years. They announced that Willis had been diagnosed with aphasia, a neurological condition that affects a person's ability to communicate. The disorder made it increasingly difficult for him to understand language, remember dialogue, and speak clearly. Because acting depends heavily on memory and communication, the diagnosis forced Willis to make a painful decision. After more than 4 decades in film and television, he officially stepped away from acting. The announcement marked the end of one of Hollywood's most recognizable careers. But the story did not stop there. In February 2023, his family shared an update that revealed a more serious diagnosis. Doctors had determined that Willis was suffering from frontotemporal dementia, often abbreviated as FTD. The disease affects the frontal and temporal lobes of the brain, areas responsible for personality, behavior, and language. Unlike some other forms of dementia, FTD often begins with dramatic personality changes. Patients may lose the ability to organize thoughts, communicate clearly, or control emotions. As the disease progresses, language skills deteriorate, memory weakens, and the person may gradually lose awareness of their surroundings. Doctors describe the condition as progressive and irreversible. There is currently no cure and no treatment that can stop its progression. Many specialists have described advanced FTD as one of the most devastating neurological diseases because it slowly erodes a person's identity. By 2026, updates from the family suggested that Willis's physical condition remained relatively stable. He could still walk, move around the house, and spend time with loved ones. However, the neurological decline continued. Reports indicate that Willis now lives with full-time care and supervision. Caregivers monitor him around the clock to ensure his safety. One complication associated with his condition is anosognosia, a symptom in which patients are unable to recognize that they are ill. Because of this, Willis may not fully understand the severity of his own condition. Family members have occasionally described moments when he appears calm or cheerful. Even though his cognitive abilities have changed significantly, in some ways, this creates a strange emotional contrast. The body remains present, while parts of the mind slowly disappear. The illness has also deeply affected the people around him. His wife, Emma Hemming Willis, has taken on much of the responsibility for his daily care. She has spoken publicly about the emotional and physical strain experienced by caregivers who support patients with degenerative brain diseases. Studies often show that caregivers of dementia patients experience high levels of stress and health problems. Some research suggests that a significant percentage of long-term caregivers face serious health risks themselves due to constant emotional and physical demands. To protect their younger children, the family sometimes limits visits or carefully manages when and how the girls spend time with their father. From the outside, some critics have misunderstood these decisions and accused the family of distancing themselves from Willis. In reality, the goal has been protection. Living with someone affected by advanced dementia can be emotionally overwhelming, especially for children who are still trying to understand what is happening. Managing those moments requires careful balance between honesty, protection, and compassion. For the Willis family, the hardest part has been watching a husband and father slowly change. The man who once led action films around the world is gradually losing the abilities that once defined him. Yet the family has also chosen to use this painful experience to raise awareness about frontotemporal dementia. By sharing updates about Willis's condition, they have helped bring public attention to a disease that many people had never heard of before. In this way, even in the middle of a deeply personal tragedy, the story of Bruce Willis continues to reach beyond Hollywood. Conclusion. The story of Bruce Willis is not a simple Hollywood success story. It is a life that moved through extreme highs and a deeply personal tragedy. For more than 30 years, Willis stood at the center of some of the most recognizable films in modern cinema. His performance as John McClane in Die Hard changed the image of the action hero. Instead of an invincible warrior, He played a tired police officer who kept fighting even when he was injured, frightened, and alone. That human quality helped audiences connect with him across generations. During the 1990s, Willis helped shape some of the decade's most memorable films, including Pulp Fiction, The Fifth Element, and Armageddon. These films earned hundreds of millions of dollars and secured his place among Hollywood's most influential actors. His characters were often flawed, but determined, ordinary people forced to face extraordinary danger. Yet the tragedy that later entered his life did not erase those achievements. The diagnosis of frontotemporal dementia changed the final chapter of Willis's life in a way no film script could predict. The disease slowly affects language, behavior, and identity. It forces families to watch a loved one gradually lose abilities that once defined them. For many people, this reality represents one of the most painful forms of illness. But the story of Bruce Willis is not defined only by loss. Throughout his career, he repeatedly emphasized that his greatest role was not on a movie screen, but in his family, as a father of 5 daughters and a husband. He often spoke about protecting his children from the pressures of fame. His life outside Hollywood always revolved around family. Today, that same family stands beside him. Emma Hemming Willis, his children, and even his former wife, Demi Moore, have remained united in supporting him. Their openness about his illness has also helped bring global attention to frontotemporal dementia, a condition that many people previously knew little about. In this sense, Willis's legacy continues to grow in an unexpected way. His story has become part of a broader conversation about neurological disease, caregiving, and compassion. Years ago, Willis once joked that he planned to keep acting until his bones gave out. The comment reflected his straightforward attitude toward work and life, even though illness forced him to leave the screen earlier than expected. The impact of his work remains. Millions of viewers still watch his films. The characters he created continue to influence modern action cinema. And the resilience he showed throughout his life, both on screen and off, remains part of how people remember him. The man who once played heroes fighting impossible battles is now facing a battle of his own. But the legacy of Bruce Willis is not fading with the illness. His films, his family, and the awareness his story has created will continue long after the final chapter of his career.